Okay, in this video I want to show you a new feature for uh, for the satin stitches, and a lot of you may have noticed that in the params there are a few added lines. And how does that work? So I got here a couple of satin stitches patterns just a few corners what I made. So this one is just made up of equal amount of nodes, and they are combined. And the same with this one, that is just two nodes on each rail and just combined. And then these two are the two rails, and I put a few rungs across and they are combined. So now what we'll do is we'll go and look at the behavior in the satin stitch. So we go to ink stitch, params, and mine, because I played with it a little bit already, they go straight into or some of them will go straight into the satin stitch. If for some reason yours is not going into the satin stitch, all you would have to do is you would get a running stitch along the path. All you need to do is take the check mark off of there and go to your satin column. And here I'll put the satin here beside for a moment. So on this one we do not see anything special. It all seems to be ordinary the way it was. Even though we can go and change numbers, it will not matter. And the behavior is that from node to node to node on the one rail, and from node to node to node on the bottom rail, it will divide the distance for the stitches all evenly. And that is the reason why on this one we do not see anything special. So now we'll go and I'll cancel out of this one. And that is the same with this one. Extension, ink stitch, params. And there too again, we do not see anything special behavior on the stitches, because it goes from, because this is only a two node rail, it divides the distance between the two nodes on the top rail and the two nodes on the bottom rail, and divides that distance all equally and puts the stitches all in proportion because of that. So I'll cancel out of here. But now we come to the next one, and let me see, how shall I yeah, I can make it work. Okay, we'll take I'll select both of them here, and we go to extension. No, I gotta go first wait a moment so that we can see everything better afterwards. I'll just move this screen over for a moment, and then I'll go to the extension. I'll go ink stitch, go to the params, and now I will so now you can see I'll move this one over on top of there for a moment, and Put that one there again. I'll move that out of the way. So now we get what some of you may get is that you get this kind of starting of the stitching, and the reason for that is because there's a running stitch along the path. So we click on the check mark, and now it becomes a satin column. And now we'll go and I'll turn that the opacity on my mouse off, then it is the best visible, and I'll up the magnifier here a little bit. So now here we can see there is stitches all the way to the edge, and there is a row of stitches over here. So what with this with the new params for the satin stitches, it controls on how far these stitches are away from the edge. That is depending on a few settings. So I'll and the same here with the green. You can see there is an outer row of stitches and an inner row of stitches. So we do not get, as it was before, these inner ones. They would also be on the outer edge, and then we would have issues with too many needle penetrations on the edge. So, and that is solved now, and we can change that where they line up in the params now. So I'll go and move this one out of the way. So now we have these two satin columns, and so yeah, as soon as we changed here the running stitch along the path, then we go here to the satin column, and now we can go and change that setting, and we can set here the short stitch inset. If we go and I'll move it up a fair bit so that it becomes quite visible. I'll move that up to 50%, and I press enter, and now we can see, I'll grab the magnifier here on top again. Now we can see that these stitches, that second row of stitches, has moved over to the center of the width of the satin. So that means that 50%. And that is the same here. As you can see here, that row of stitches has moved over to halfway the width of the satin. Also over here it has done it too. There we can see double lines of stitching. So that way we can get a nicer fill, and we don't get near the needle penetrations anymore. And the short stitch distance, I don't know exactly what that is. I can go and let's go and put it at 1 and see what happens. Okay, that would need a little more investigation on how and what that behavior is. Would have to really investigate. It sure makes things look way different. Let me see, 6x spacing. Here we go, 0.25, enter. So that is that spacing. But then the short stitch distance, I am that it is possible that there is, how shall I say that? Okay, if you're looking now at the density here on the outer side, and now we'll go and change that to 0.2, enter. As you can see, so that's still the one and the other one, they're working together, but in what way exactly I am not familiar with yet, so I would need to investigate that a little further. But as you can see, it changes the whole picture. Also, let's go back here to say the 20%. And so the 0.25, that doesn't make any difference, seems like it. So if I go here back to the 2.5 also, okay, now we really see a difference. We see a curve on the outside. I'll put a magnifier here, and we can see the behavior here on the outside. It's got the short stitches and giving that distance. On this curve here, it shows over here on the inside. This section, we do not see it whatsoever, and here we can see it is on the outside again. So be aware of the settings, so that that you know. Let me see. If you go and do that at 0, you see now if it is at 0, that is basically the original way it was always digitizing. Now we put it at 0.2, and now we can see we have it here only on the inside. Then also where we have to be aware of is some of it we can get rid of those short stitches by changing the angle of the rails, because it takes also in account the distance between the rails on where you're gonna get these short stitches. So there are many things where you need to play with. So if you now watch this this pink purple one, and here we can see on the outside here we see the short stitches, and here this section we do not see them. So now I'll cancel out of here, and I will go to the node select tool, and I will go and change the angle of the rail here on the bottom a little bit. And so now I'll go to extension, ink stitch, params, and I'll only, oh no, I still got both of them. And now we're back here at the satin columns again. And now you can see here in this purplish one, we have gotten rid of those short stitches. And that is the same with in this corner. We can get rid of these short stitches too by manipulating one of the rungs a little bit, and then we get that the stitches are all the way across. So play with it, see what these numbers do. Do a few of the test stitch outs on what type of difference you are going to be seeing on your fabric. It will depend on what kind of fabric you're using it, on how it shows up. Sometimes it looks worse on the screen than that it in reality is. So I really recommend and do a few tryouts. Okay, I'll leave it at this, and happy digitizing, and play with these new features and learn from them. Play with the buttons, just make a few samples on the screen and watch the behavior of the params and go from there. Okay, thanks for watching, and talk to you some other time. Bye for now.